keeping our minds open, our hearts open, and connecting to your why. Because the why is young people. The why is students. I know for me, I can be exhausted, wondering why am I doing this business of the university, and then once I get to commencement, you see those young people walk across that stage and graduate, it fills my love tank up and I'm ready to go another year. So I hope you feel the same way in your work, that you want to move to graduation, move to commencement, move to that next transition into the next grade, into middle school, and on to high school. And those lived experiences help you stay connected to the why. So we have just two beautiful people that are going to share with us their lived experiences. First, I'd like to introduce Madison Morales. Madison graduated from Lehman High School and will be starting her sophomore year at the University of Texas at Austin in the fall. She'll be a Longhorn. Madison really wanted to be a ring on HT, but I'll forgive because you're beautiful as now. She goes as Maddie, and Maddie loves fitness and is currently teaching classes at F45. Maddie aspires to be an attorney so she can help people when they need it most. So I introduce you to Maddie. Next we have Ryan Kuzigi. Ryan told me his name is French. So, I love that. Ryan graduated amidst the start of the pandemic in 2020 from Pflugerville High School and is now attending Texas State University, where he is majoring in computer engineering. So Susan and I Ryan is a self-proclaimed math nerd. So Susan and I have another friend who loves to cook, to stay active, and is enthusiastic about sci-fi and superhero films. Ryan hopes to someday combine his engineering skills with business to open his own engineering firm. Ali is still in here. Ali does some competition that will support young engineering graduates from low-income households. So I introduce to you Ryan Lucy. People talk. Before you leave today, I want you to read the back of the table 10. That talks about data and expertise acknowledgement. While the data tells the story, when you hear just some phenomenal stories, that these are not numbers we're talking about. They're actually people, and there are inequities in our data. So let's keep our mind open and our heart open so that we can really address and tell a narrative using the data. So Brian and Maddie, take it away.
Afternoon, everybody. My name is Carrie Twill. I'm the Student and Family Engagement Specialist with E3 Alliance. Thank you so much for being here and enjoying the time with us. Today, we are here to listen to two learners who are joining us in a very unique study to share their experience in going through their education system journey. And so we ask that during this session, you listen to their stories and really begin to think about what are the key leveraging points of what made a difference in their experience of going through their high school and transitioning into college. We also ask that you start to think about what you can do in your role to start making a change in the education system. Jennifer, would you like to add?
So, I think, as a teacher, so I know I have a teacher voice, but always need a microphone. I think the important thing is that as E3ers, we're always bringing in that quantitative data perspective, which is so key in our work, right? And it should move us and motivate us. But it doesn't tell the entire story. And so oftentimes we stop with the quantitative data and we go out and we start changing things or implementing things based on what we see within the quantitative data. And really what we want to do as E3ers to help guide us is complete that data story, and this is completing that data story, right? So think about the quantitative data we shared today, hear the stories of Maddie and Ryan and their lived experience both through high school and now where they are today. And let's really understand what is the data telling us, and then what action should we be taking from that data based on the completion of that data. So we're going to start with Ryan. I'm excited to allow them to share that story.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes, sir. For a second, I thought I was gonna have my slide show up, so I had it up here just in case. But, like I said before, my name is Ryan Stigate. I really appreciate y'all having me over here tonight. I really appreciate Terry and Jennifer for giving me the opportunity to not just invite me, but also Mass to really share our experience. Before we start with my slideshow real quick. Oh, go clicker? Oh, right there. Let's talk about the high school me. I'm from Austin, Texas, born and raised in the playgrounds where I spent most of my years. I was a student athlete. I played football, basketball, track, you name it, except for baseball. I wish I did play baseball, but my parents, they didn't really think I'd be really too interested in it, but hey, a man can only dream. But also, throughout my high school years, I took over 14 AP classes during those years. I'd say the main reason why I took those classes was because the teachers, they mainly encouraged us, all of us students, to take those classes. They reminded us if we took at least a 3 on the AP test or took those classes, we'd be well aware of what a college class looks like. And also be well aware that if we actually did make a 3, we could lower down the cost for our college tuition, because college tuition these days is pretty expensive. It's one of the main factors of people who want to go to college and may not want to go to college. So having that out in the field, attending AP classes was a big factor. I would also say I was in 5 club organizations. My favorite one was TAME, which started to stand for Texas Alliance Minority Engineers. It was one of my main favorite groups for me to join, mainly because I was always surrounded by people, minority groups. I wanted to become an engineer too, and I was also surrounded by people with different backgrounds who also had the same aspirations, different goals and values. I also came from a diverse environment. The city of Pflugerville, a very diverse city, very diverse school, always surrounded from kids from different backgrounds, different countries, different states. Able to hear their stories, become woke into their perspective, know about them, see them through their progress. And also throughout then, after my graduating class, I graduated the top 6% of my class of 2020, which was a big accomplishment for me because during that time, I was always reminded my parents to always do well in school, really represent where you came from. My dad, he graduated top 2% of his high school class, and he always rubs it in my face from time to time. Okay, at least I was in the top 6% of my class, and I was able to have a high achievement moment for me and my family. Now, the high school experience. Now, I did have many groups and many studies that really helped me out throughout my progress. But I'd say the main 3 was MBK, my British keepers. Second was ADVI, which stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. And the third was my counselor, Mr. Howell, who made a really big impact in my life regarding the college process and the high school selection. Let's start with the first one, my British keeper. As you may know, I had mentors. My favorite one was Miss Tim. She was one of my mentors throughout my British keeper, really taught me what college was like, the financial aid situation, how college was going to be proceeded, whatnot. College visits, we ever took college visits towards U of H, Texas State, Houston Tillotson. I was speaking to the woman over there. We visited Robert College for Houston Tillotson 4 times. We were able to meet up from not only just from my high school, but also different high schools from Elgin, Cedar Ridge, Georgetown, different standpoints. We were able to meet up, so that was a really nice moment. They also reminded us of financial aid and scholarships. They kept reminding us that, hey, you need to apply for these financial aid. They reminded us about the FAFSA, or about the scholarships, that you need to apply for them in order to lower the cost of tuition. My second group was ADVI, which stood for Advancement via Individual Determination. They taught us many skills that not only apply to high school, but also into college. They taught us Cornell notes, gender studies. They also took college trips as well. They took college trips towards Texas State and U of H maybe, where we're able to see how college is like, the dorm process, different types of students, the environment, Greek life, you name it. Now my third, Mr. Howard, my counselor, he was a really big impact in my life because, man, he told us nothing can really stop you. Always achieve for the best. He showed us that, hey, you should apply for these financial aid scholarships. He always reminded us every single day, hey, you need to apply for this. Hey, you need to do that. I really care about you, Ryan, so let me help you out. Second, he also brought college representatives from different schools. He brought some from U of H, UT Austin, Texas State, what was one? St. Edwards, you name it. He was able to bring college representatives who would come to our school, really tell us how college is like, what to expect, how the tuition is played out. There was college board information, which was a big impact on all of us high school students because, AP credit classes, college credit classes, tuition, all that type of stuff. He really let us know that, hey, there's opportunities for you to take the SAT, to take the FAFSA, to fill this form out, to really get into those type of applications where it can really apply to you throughout high school and in college too. Now, third, you may ask this as well, what was the biggest preparatory class around high school for me? I would say the biggest classes was the AP Capstone program and AP Environmental Science. Let's start with the AP Capstone program. The first two was AP Seminar, AP Research, and the Research programs. Those three classes were mainly important because it really taught us, all of us students, what a classroom is like, what a college classroom is like, what a research paper is like, how detailed can it be. I remember our teacher was Miss Smith and Miss Levy, both well-renowned teachers that really taught us about how to write a research paper, what college professors expect, what do they want to see throughout your work. And so they taught us skills where we're able to take it from high school and bring it over to college. And I'd say for myself, it really helped me out, especially on the English department and research department too as well, because I was able to write papers at a freshman program level, and I honestly show my professor that, hey, I know I'm able to do. I think I remember one time a professor in one of my research classes my freshman year told me that he was really impressed with my work, and he told me where I was able to write papers from. Well, I told him I was in the AP Capstone Diploma program where I was able to learn from AP Seminar, AP Research, and from those research programs during high school. And so those skills I learned from high school, they would apply towards college, which I was able to make an A in both of those classes. The second class was AP Environmental Science. My UT professor, Mr. Crowell, he was a retired UT professor. He taught over there for 6 years and then he came back to Pflugerville High School to teach us there. The great thing about him was that he really taught us how a college environment was like. He didn't treat us like high school students, even though we were 16, 17 years old. He treated us like college kids. He held us to a higher standard. Even though many times in high school they'd take away your phone, they say, hey, pay attention in class. Mr. Crowell wasn't like that. He told us, I'm going to treat you like college students. You either pay attention to the presentation or you don't. It's up to you. And so he applied to us throughout homeworks, quizzes, tests. Everything was online, so that kind of helped me throughout my high school career, especially around the COVID years when everything got switched from in-person to online. And so it was a great impact around our classroom life. And there was, even during those times around the AP program and AP registration, where teachers and schools, they fundraise money to help provide for those lower income kids, because they realize that, hey, AP exams are really expensive. So how can we help kids that are not so fortunate take these exams, because it's not only going to impact them in high school, but it's also going to impact them in college, where they're going to have to pay maybe $30,000 per tuition per semester on a certain class. So they really raise money to help lower those costs for the AP exam. I'm pretty sure for low-income students, they were able to pay $25 per AP exam, which was compared to the, I think, $150 that you had to pay for a certain exam, so that was a big accomplishment for them. It really showed the high school students that they really did care about us, making us all really want to come and take the exams. I also remember throughout, I'm pretty sure my junior year, my English teacher held a competition to see how many students would sign up for the AP exam, for AP English, because they wanted all of us to take AP English exams. And they realized that the number one factor was costing. And so what they did was that they held a fundraiser, fundraised money, they sold candy, sold devices, sold certain stuff in order to help lower down that cost. And so a lot of students, a lot of lower income students were able to come in and actually take the AP exam. A lot of those students I know to this day made a 3, 4, and even a 5, and was able to get a credit out the way. So that was a great moment around my high school career. Now, you may ask about the high school to college transition. Now, as you may know, I was in class of 2020 of Pflugerville High School year. Even though I was able to graduate, it was a tough year. It was the COVID year. And so I'm pretty sure my second semester of high school, it was pretty tough. Everybody wasn't too sure what was going to happen, what it was going to look like, how it was going to play out. And so, in order to really help us out, the counselors and teachers formed into one team. We really came into a group, talked with one another, and see, okay, how can we help these students out, even though they're struggling to run a time where everything's online, they can't be within 6 feet of each other. Let's help them out. So, weekly, the counselors and teachers always updated us on weekly stuff, on opportunities, on classroom notes, on the FAFSA and SAT stuff, which is very important because everybody was trying to get their FAFSA and SAT signups in. But, of course, they weren't able to meet with the counselors face up. So he always called us, he always emailed us, he always tried to make sure that, hey, we really care about you, just follow our lead, we're able to get you there. Also with online classroom work, they were able to let us know that, hey, you can log into this certain file, certain devices where you're able to fill out your work, get this done, take your notes, look over the question. You can type in this chat saying, hey, I don't understand this type of work. I don't know how to get this done. Well, the teachers can come in, supply us with what we need to get done, and all goes well. Now, you may ask yourself as well, what made me want to go from Pflugerville High School to Texas State? Now, to be honest, it was the financial aid scholarship. They gave me the most money. And so, I didn't want to have to take out any loans. Talking it over with my parents, they said, just go where the money goes. And so just, that was one of the biggest things of me going from Pflugerville High School to Texas State. And also, I was able to visit from Texas State High School, get those representatives. They constantly came over to our high schools, really representing themselves, telling us how this high school is going to look like, how this college looks like, how it's going to look like in the future. Now, you may also ask yourself, what made me want to go to college? Well, the biggest thing is it came from my family, our cultural norm. If you come from a first-generational parent, you may know that education is very important. My parents traveled from Cameroon to Canada to the USA to make sure that I had a great opportunity. I was able to fulfill my destiny. And one of the biggest destinies around our household was education. But I wanted to make sure I go to really great school, really great college, a really great high school, and I'll get a really good job. Not just only for me, but also for my various people who are coming along the way as well. And so representing my hometown as well, representing Pflugerville. I love my city, Pflugerville. I often honestly hesitated leaving Pflugerville because I wasn't too sure what the environment for San Marcos was going to look like, but San Marcos looks really great as well. I love Pflugerville, and just going over from Pflugerville to San Marcos and really representing, hey, I'm from this area of town, I'm representing, not just representing Pflugerville, but also representing my home country, Cameroon. You know, excellence is often a norm over there, and I like to carry myself a certain way where everybody's at the high achieving moment, really well represented, and so on. And so I will say that Texas State too, another reason was the diverse environment. I saw kids from all different backgrounds. I would say San Marcos is a very diverse place. I never really felt out of place or really felt left out. I always went into a math section, a philosophy section, a certain type of area, and I always felt that I always fit in because there was African student organizations, there were minority group organizations. I also saw there was LGBTQ organizations. There was also organizations for people who came from out of the country, and so that was great to know that there were a place for students. Now, I will say though, coming from high school to college, one of the biggest things I faced was anxiety because my freshman year, COVID year, getting used to online work was a different process for me. Like I've never actually done math online. Like I had to take thermodynamics my freshman year. Never want to take it again, but so just going throughout that process. But I know Texas State did a really good job of really emailing us, letting us know that hey, the advising center is over there. Hey, our teachers are over there. There's certain teachers that you can ask for help. You don't even have to ask teachers to. There's certain mentors over there that are able to help you out. So that was great to know, not just only for me, but also the students around Texas State University. Now you may ask, what's my current situation around the college experience? Well, I'm not currently in my second year, I'm going into my third year, just finished off my second year, should have edited it out, but that's fine, but, currently going into my third year of college, and so far everything's going well, haven't had any anxiety attacks or nothing like that, so everything's going well. Right now, this summer, I'm seeking out internships. One that I applied for was State Farm, Amazon, and Tesla. So right now, my major is computer engineering / electrical engineering. So those are the main ones that were offered to me, not just the ones that I was able to seek out, but also the ones that my professors around Texas State University were able to show me too, that, hey, Ryan, you should really apply for these jobs. You should apply for these internships because you need the experience in order to get the job. And so that was really good. And also, like this lady said before too, learning the business side of computer engineering. Hopefully in the future I can open up my own firm for computer engineering. I don't know the inside of it yet, but currently I'm in my third year. Maybe if I go with my computer engineering degree from Texas State, I can come back after 2 years of experience, get my business side, my MBA around computer engineering, really learn about it, and get more opportunity, not just people in Texas, but lower income kids who are seeking an engineering degree, give them also more opportunities like I had for Pflugerville and Texas State University. And also currently right now, I'm part of the MBK organization, my brother's student organization. I'm mentoring high school students that in high school, Pflugerville High School. I currently am mentoring a kid who actually decided he wanted to go to ACC. He wasn't too sure in the beginning if he actually wanted to go to college or college was for him. But I told him, hey, start at ACC, start at a community college, really take your time, slow down, really see that what college is going to look like, what's the curriculum for it, what the expectation is, then you can go on for it. So he said that he wants to go from ACC to Texas State as well. He's able to finish it out. So I'm really proud of him. And so one of my main quotes, I promise, I know I can get it from Google, but it says, let your ambition guide you in life. I think that's really important for me because that's really guiding me in life, was my ambition. I've always been known as an ambitious kid. I've always wanted more. I really didn't want to hold back my potential. I've always wanted to make sure that I had everything in life. I don't want to sound greedy, but I'm really coming for it all. And so that's a great thing I have in my mind, just to have a warrior mindset. And this man over here is Alexander the Great. And just having talked with one of these few people, he's one of the very great men that I look up to this day. Came with my father, of course. But what I really liked about Alexander the Great was, at a very young time, he was dealing with so much backlash at a very early age, but he was able to overcome it, regardless of his background, regardless of where he came from. He was a king, and he didn't just do it himself. He had people such as Aristotle, who was one of the greatest philosophers of all time. And he also had a great backing system that said, hey, we'll make sure you succeed as long as you follow our lead. That's what he did. And he was able to conquer Europe at 21 years old, not 20 years old. Now, I'm not trying to conquer Europe. But just to see that what he was able to accomplish at a young age, I really do admire that. And just hearing y'all's background stories, especially the one I heard from Valerie today in our group, just growing up around a certain system where they weren't really there to help you, but you had to advocate for yourself. But you were able to find those people who were able to not only advocate for you, but really help you along the journey. So that's one of the things that really touched my heart. And not just for myself, I may not be able to relate to it, but just to hear her experience, especially like Woman's My Heart, just lets me know that I may not be able to relate to someone's experience, but I can also help someone else get into their journey and get around where they need to go in order to accomplish certain tasks. And so that was very, very good moment to hear. That's all for my presentation.
Well, that's kind of hard to follow. So I just want to start off by thanking Jennifer and Carrie for giving me this opportunity to speak. I also want to thank each and every one of you for coming to this conference and your willingness to listen and learn. I, like many of you, turned 18. I wanted to explore my new sense of freedom. I was ready to graduate high school and hang with friends for the last time, plan what my dorm was going to look like. I already pictured what my dorm was going to look like as I closed my eyes, ready for the college experience. I remember closing my eyes and praying for a good roommate. and a good schedule. But as I closed my eyes, I saw another 18-year-old closing his eyes as he prayed that he wouldn't get caught as he crossed the border. I saw another 18-year-old woman ready to go to college and move away, closing her eyes, praying as she held up a positive pregnancy test. I opened my eyes, and I knew that my grandfather Angel had envisioned a better life for me and the family for the generations to come. I knew that my mom had set a plan in motion to give me everything she never had and to always allow me to remain humble and grateful. My dad was 18 when he uprooted himself, grabbed everything he had, and moved us to Las Vegas so he could pursue his dream of going to college and being a physical therapist. Both my parents and my entire family instilled in me the importance of higher education. Regardless of really ever pushing me, I knew it was there. I had the privilege of having two parents who are successful, one with a college degree, and the other one who really was just successful and told me if I set my mind to it, I can achieve it. As a child, school didn't come easy for me. My parents were at loss, as school had been easy for them. The doctors and teachers said it could be dyslexia, but maybe she'll grow out of it. My aunt was determined, and she bought a whiteboard and taught me how to read and write. It took countless hours. I owe her so much for that, as my greatest teachers hadn't even taken the time to do that. After that, I knew I was going to push myself to be at the top of my class every year. School became a passion of mine. It became my drive. I've always been eager to learn more, grow, and nurture my mind. High school might have been the most memorable time I've had in this life so far. I started my freshman year strong as ever, and then the pandemic hit my junior year. And then I was doing school online. All of the coming age events, like prom, were canceled. I watched as they gerrymandered my school so that the new high school could get some of the top athletes and most funding. I saw some of my teachers working overtime to help us as best as they could. Speaking of which, thank you, Mr. Schmidt, for all the help that you put into my essay to get into UT. You did this on your days off, and you didn't have to. My counselors were overwhelmed with the workload. I felt like I had no one to support me. With FAFSA and scholarships, I had to step in my own life to keep pushing and believing in myself and my passion. I dove into anything I could on to try and make this transition from high school to college as easy as possible for me. I would be lying if I said I wasn't overwhelmed. I felt as disadvantaged as I saw my friends from all over get scholarships and full rides, all because their school funding provided the right resources to show them where and how to apply for these things. Something I was completely ignorant about. I still made the most of it, and when I saw my acceptance letter to UT Austin, it made me feel happy. Go Longhorns. Arriving on UT campus, day one, I was so scared. I wondered if I was going to make friends, how difficult classes would be, and was college as scary as it seemed? However, after arriving, they had so many events for freshmen that I was able to make friends and connections. During orientation, I joined the FIG. It's a freshman interest group, which is made of other freshmen who have similar majors, and you get to take 3 of your classes together. This made the large auditorium seem so small when I would see familiar faces. I also thank this program for the lifelong relationships and resources that it gave me. I then joined organizations like Minority Women Pursuing Law and being a part of the Student Government Diversity and Inclusion. Both organizations allowed me to meet people who too had similar interests and goals. Although I was able to grow my circle of friends and build relationships with other students around me, I still struggled with the stress that came with being in a new environment. Although I wasn't far, I was no longer a room away from my parents. I no longer had the comfort to hug my dog when I had a bad day. Yet over time, I got used to my dorm, my routines, and I even got a job that I loved. And when the days got hard, I had to remind myself what I was working for. My uncle was wrongfully convicted in June 2019. Being a character witness for him and sitting in that box while I watched the jury and the judge barely listen as they had already made up their mind, I knew the system was corrupt. It was that day that I decided I wanted to be in the legal system. I wanted to make a change. This lit a fire in me, so to this day it still burns. I did my research and I knew that if I went to UT for pre-law, I could push myself to get into an amazing law school. This is my drive. I can help people achieve justice. I can give them justice no matter their ethnicity, their race, their gender, and sexuality. I want to conclude all of this by saying thank you to anyone who has stepped in to help the minorities step up. I push myself daily to be the best, partly because I'm competitive, but also because I want to show my family that I did it. I want to show my baby cousin Berlin that she can do it too. I want to pave the way for those around me who never dreamed of going to college. And they can see that if I can do it, you can too. I want to show those who thought that a kid with teen parents was a lost cause. I am who I am because of my family, the ones I was born into and the ones that I've chosen over time. They sacrificed so much so that I could never go without. They continue to sacrifice as college is not cheap. I want to make sure that they know I'm making every penny count. I love being in school. I'm forever grateful for my privilege that I have to just be here. So thank you all again for your time and for listening. And just remember, when you can lend a hand or even your time to someone, know that you could be changing a life. Thank you.
Try to do it without a mic, because I really need it. So, thank you very much for your stories, and thank you all so much for sitting here and listening to each and every word that they spoke. We do want to open the floor up for just a few questions. We have approximately 5 minutes, so 1 to 2, 3 questions. If anybody would like to address Ryan or Madison, the floor is yours. You can go ahead and say your name and who you represent.
Hi, I'm Carol Fletcher. I work at UT Austin, and I'm a former 18-year board member at Florida ISD. So I want to say, Ryan, so impressive. But my question is, both of y'all touched on these ideas of like feeling a sense of belonging, and either in high school or when you came to college. What do you think, from the perspective of kind of the K-12 people here in the room, what can we do, if you could give us advice on 1 or 2 things to help you feel this sense of belonging, so that you feel like you belong in these college courses, you belong in these advanced courses, and you belong in a track that's going to send you on to college?
I think a sense of belonging can always be difficult in such large environments, especially when you're told that you can't do it. But personally for me, I think organizations that are designed for minorities to make these classrooms that seem so scary, or these auditoriums that seem so scary, it can make it seem smaller. Like I mentioned, in college, I was able to join a lot of organizations and a freshman interest group, which really helped me feel like I belonged here, because I could hear other people who were like, is this class hard? Isn't this professor seem like they're not making any sense? Or even in high school, yeah. So like being able to talk to others and know that you're not alone can really help feel like you belong here.
I definitely agree with her viewpoint. Just going from one person to another, really saying, how is this club process work? Fortunately for me, I was able to come from school where they constantly broadcast different clubs. So I can name you like 100 clubs off the top of my head. Tane, MBK, Avid, etc. We had a lot of those. And so we would ask other students about those clubs, about certain classes, about certain majors, how it was like, how it was processed, how was it set up. And so for me, it was really helpful because I was able to see that, hey, these are clubs that are really open to everybody, but also I can turn to the student and say, hey, what is this club all about? Should I join? And so they were able to give off their input, to which I was able to join.
Hi, I'm Laura Jack. So I was just curious, you both talked about mentorship. Ryan, I know you mentioned that you both were mentored and now you're mentoring, and Maddie, maybe that's true for you as well. And I'm curious, is that a person that you would tend to turn to during times of anxiety as your mentor? Or like, who do you turn to when things are overwhelming and stressful? What does that look like? And yeah, do like parents, friends, right? Because you're in a big transition.
I'll say that for me, it is good for me, I do turn towards my mentors, but I will say, especially for kids our age, whenever we get anxiety, we get really stressed out, we like to turn to other kids because they're definitely having that same involvement, especially finals week. Like, during that time of week, my anxiety levels are at all-time high, stress levels. And so I'm able to turn to other kids who are also experiencing the same thing also. Just know that, hey, I'm also experiencing the same thing as well. Let's get this done together. Everything's gonna be all right. That's been a great process for me for the past 2 years, especially midterms and finals before tests. It's just like, you have to stay up towards 2 a.m. in the morning. You have to get this work done. You have to present in front of 100 people. And it's not just you. It's also other kids who are also going through that same process. And so for me, I think that was very helpful because I just know that if I fail, I'm not also going to fail alone. It's also going to be other people who are going to be with me. And so I haven't failed yet, but that's been a big process for me.
I think personally, I have so many mentorships in my own family because they're all just pushing me to succeed and always there for me. But academically, I feel like being friends with people who are older than me, it also helped me because they're like, okay, well, look, it gets easier, it gets better. Like, this is your first final, and it's going to be okay. Like, you're going to be okay. Just focus on what you have to do and get it done. And also, I had a lot of great professors who anytime we felt stressed out and TAs, we could always talk to them about the assignments, we could talk to them about what we needed to be done, and they just really made me feel less anxiety-driven.
So we have time for one more question. Does anybody else have a question they'd like to ask?
Hi, Joey Grissom. I'm wondering, since y'all were both focused on your post-secondary journey, what about your classmates? How did you get them, or did you get them involved in doing the same thing? Did most of your classmates go to college after that?
I'd say for me, for my graduating class, a lot of kids did go to post-secondary school. I will say that. I'd say our class was actually 570 kids, and I'm pretty sure over 91% went over to college, and so that was a good thing as well. I would say though that this year's graduating class, graduating class of 2022, I think they had the most students actually going from high school to college. I was looking at the list, all of them had scholarships, financial aid, all that type of stuff, packages, and so that was also impressive as well. But just looking at my classmates, some of them are in the military as well, but most of them are going to school. A lot of them know what they want to do with their life. Some of them are playing sports over there. Some of them are becoming nurses, doctors, engineers, doing the same thing just as I do. And so it's a good thing to see from them.
I don't have that same experience. I went to a high school that was majority minority students, and I can count on my hands how many people from my high school of a class of 600 are going to attending UT with me, and then I can probably count on my other hands how many are going to Texas State, because like I said, there weren't the resources there. I mean, it was a time where everything was online, but no one reached out to me. I had to find it on my own, and a lot of people, they didn't have the resources to go, or the willing to go, or the drive that they can go. So I think that it's really important that you make these students know that they can, that they have the access and the ability to go, because it probably was like less than 15% of the people went.
And I just want to piggyback off what you said.
No, you're fine.
But she made a really great point, just letting the students know that they can. I came from a high school where, from freshman year, our teachers were letting us know, hey, small or league, you can succeed as well. You can go to college as well. Take those classes. Take ACC dual credit classes. Take college AP classes. We're going to help you get you there. We're going to contribute towards your future. And just to know that from freshman year that, hey, these teachers are really kind on you. They want to make sure that you succeed, really pushes you, really motivates you to actually go along the further step. Really take more risks. Like for me, wasn't into taking AP classes, but because of my teachers like Miss Levy and Miss Smith, really encouraged me throughout my high school career to actually go in and actually take those credit courses. I was able to take over 14 credit classes, lower my tuition costs, and actually motivated me to actually want to go and pursue secondary education.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you so much, Madison. Again, just want to leave the space for them. Please, thank you so much for your time and joining us today. As Jennifer said earlier, it is about the data, but what really plays a key role in all of the work that we do on a regular basis, on a day-to-day basis, and when we go back to our jobs after today, is their lived experience. They are not the only people who have an experience, and you're going to come into encounters with many, many people who have their experience, families, students, their siblings. Ryan's brother just graduated this week from high school as well. So, in honoring the last few minutes that we have for this session, which is approximately 2 minutes, you are all handed a piece of paper to utilize throughout your day. It's like a 4-box. There's a question on there specifically that says, what did you hear today that inspires you to be more deliberate about co-creating strategies with students? So we just want you all to take an opportunity now or even at the end of this conference and really think about what you heard today from these 2 students who represent their own experience to take back in the work that you're doing and really think about how your role can co-collaborate with families and students in your area and make change in the education system. Thank you all again so much for your time.